What is going on, everyone? This is Angus of Boss Fitness, and super excited to be sharing some knowledge bombs with you today as to how you can be dropping weight without getting skinny fat. You see, here and now amongst society and just where things are at, it is becoming so common, the scenario where if someone drops weight, they hit their goal weight and it's just like, yay! But then they're still not happy with their physique because they actually look soft, they look skinny, and they're still holding on to body fat. So if you look at these pictures that are rolling by just now, you'll see exactly what I mean. They haven't got the really nice tight and toned aesthetics. They're not looking nice and shaped by muscle. Yes, they might be relatively healthy, but they're not looking aesthetically pleasing. And this, understand, doesn't just happen just for the sake of it. This happens based on the choices and the lifestyle that you built, and the restriction that you put yourself through that got you that way. So what I want to touch on today is exactly why this is a problem and what lands people into building a skinny fat body, and what you can be doing instead that's going to allow you to actually be able to get tight and toned, to be able to actually look amazing, have your health on point, and make sure that you can actually look exactly how you want to without getting skinny fat. Let's get into it. So a typical scenario that someone is usually going through is that they're focusing on a few key things, and this is usually as a result of just exactly how much the media slams us with this sort of thing. And so like common scenario would be the person is, and you might be able to relate to this as well, is that you're focusing on eating clean, the quality of your food, you're trying to make it super duper nutrient dense. Along with this, you're also probably going super low in your calories. We're talking like 1200 or less. Your protein intake is usually pretty low, and this is just because this seems to be the gist of how most modern day diets are in the here and now. There's lots of carbs, lots of veggies, lots of fruit, whatever, that's great, but the protein is usually pretty low. You're also focusing so much on hitting a certain scale weight figure. So say for example, you're 70, you're just like, I must hit 62. This is the be all and end all. I must hit this certain scale weight figure. And what's also happening is that when you actually are dropping this weight, okay, if your focus is on just what I've shared, well then what's going to happen is that your body will drop weight, yes, but you'll find that it's not going to be a streamlined sort of manner. It's going to go in other words, you're going to have some plateaus. But the thing here is that if you're putting your body through this level of restriction, well then what's going to happen is that it's going to let go of what is costing it most, okay? And in this scenario, your body has fat, your body has muscle. Okay, muscle costs the body a lot of energy to keep, whereas fat is actually free, sort of energy source. So therefore, in this sort of scenario, it's going to let go of muscle. So I'm not saying that everything you're going to be dropping is muscle. No. Probably about 60-40. So 60%, or depending on your genetic makeup, will actually come from muscle, and the rest will come from fat and water. So yes, you'll be dropping a bit of body fat, but you're also risking losing a lot of muscle, which is a huge bummer, because in this sort of scenario, the less muscle you have, well then the more body fat that you need to drop to have any chance at looking aesthetically pleasing. Where on the other side of things, the more muscle you have, the easier it will be for you to look tight and toned, because you've got less fat surrounding it. Okay, so what I want to share with you now is a few key things that you can be doing that will allow you to actually be able to drop weight in a way where it is solely body fat, and therefore set you up for having an amazing body that you can sustain with ease. So first things first is that you need to focus on the quantity of your food rather than being anal about the quality of your food, okay? So what's usually happening is that yes, people are focusing on trying to keep their food so nutrient dense and stuff like that, and this is fantastic because it's all well and good to have great food choices, but then when progress stalls, right, like what are you then supposed to do? Like how can you physically eat cleaner than what you already are? Yeah. And so the big key thing here is that if you're then aware of how much your body needs, well then it's just a simple means of then being able to choose what food you want to eat to be able to meet that target daily, and therefore keeping that consistency happening so that it rolls on along, okay? So what I always suggest to people is that if you're starting out with this sort of mentality is that it would be wise to work out how much energy your body requires in terms of food and calories that will count as a maintenance intake, and then eat at a gentle calorie deficit rather than a massive restriction like people usually do. So in other words, eat at about 20% below what your body would require to maintain, okay? Because what will happen is that if you don't implement something like this, well then, because your intake is far too low and because you're putting your body through that state of deprivation and restriction, well then your metabolism will naturally start to nosedive, and therefore you'll burn less energy at rest, you'll burn less energy when you exercise, and you're setting yourself up for not a bad time. And yeah, That's obviously not what we want. Number 2 is that I want you to be focusing on lifting 3 to 5 times per week. So in other words, this means hitting the gym. This means smashing out compound lifts. This means bringing progressive overload and challenging yourself in a way where you're not just mucking around going really lightweight thinking you're going to tone up yourself. No. You're not rocking up to the gym to hammer a load of classes and a load of cardio. Like, yes, that stuff can be beneficial if your goal is to get really good at running and have ridiculously high endurance, but 9 times out of 10 that isn't the person's goal. It's just that you're doing it thinking that that is what's going to get you tight and toned. No, it's not the case. I'd suggest that you isolate, sort of like if you're lifting 3 to 5 times per week at the gym, this will then mean that you're exercising 3 to 5 hours per week. If you're doing it in a progressive overload manner, this means that you can actually be increasing the overall amount of energy expenditure from week to week to week without actually investing more and more time. So this is an amazing scenario to be in, because it means then that you aren't having to spend more and more time at the gym doing exercise to try and get your results moving forward, okay? Because of the scenario you're in where you're doing lots and lots of cardio-based stuff, okay? In other words, aerobic-based activity, well then what's going to happen is that as your progress stalls, the only way that you can basically get more results from it is by basically investing more time. So this means longer sessions, this means more sessions, like you basically just are digging yourself into a hole of time restriction, okay? Remember that our bodies are efficiency machines, so you want to make sure that you're continuously doing stuff that's going to force it to adapt and to be guessing, okay? And if you're nailing it in this manner, this means that you're going to set yourself up for an amazing career of lifting and personal growth and just seeing yourself change in the gym, okay? But obviously if you can't source a gym, well then it would be ideal then that you can source some sort of resistance to move yourself forward in the same sort of manner, okay? I suggest that cardio shouldn't be done any more than 1 to 2 hours per week if your goal is to prevent getting skinny fat, okay? And when it comes to the gym, make sure the bulk of your lifts are focusing on reps between, say, 8 to 10, that sort of compromise the bulk of your actual main workouts, and then towards the end of the workouts and stuff like that, do accessory work where you're doing up to 12 or 15 reps. So think bicep curls and things like that. Compound lifts being the big guns, being things like bench press, bent over rows, shoulder press, exercises that basically utilize a number of different muscle groups to be able to actually perform the exercise. Boom! Number 3 is don't rely on supplements, okay? I see so often that those that are caught up in the skinny fat weight loss sort of journey, whatever, is that they're focusing on so many different supplements to be able to try and get things moving. So we're talking things like toning creams, we're talking things like fat burners, we're talking things like appetite suppressants, we're talking things like skinny this, we're talking things like fat, lost that, whatever, yeah? You got to understand that the only thing that generates proper fat loss is eating in a caloric deficit, bringing progressive overload in the gym, and consistency, making sure that it all fits in your lifestyle and that you're enjoying every single day of the game, okay? Because if this isn't happening, well then regardless of what U-Butte supplement it is that you're getting on board, it's not going to do anything for you apart from just burn a hole in your wallet. Because understand that most of these supplements, regardless of if they're proved or not or whatever, if you aren't nailing the fundamentals, well then the supplements will do absolutely nothing. Because a supplement is designed to supplement exactly that, an existing effective nutrition and lifestyle regime. So if you're already inconsistent and you're fucking around and all sorts of stuff are happening, well then no supplement is going to do you any good whatsoever. Even then, let's say for example that everything is absolutely on point, well then getting on board supplements will still only have a minimal impact upon your results also. If I suggest anything, utilize maybe a whey protein powder or some sort of protein powder that's going to help you to get in more protein, because as I said before, for most people getting in protein is a big issue, okay? And maybe a fish oil, but you don't need things like multivitamins and meal replacement shakes and all this Herbalife and stuff like that. Like, yes, that stuff can get results, but then the bummer here is that your results are then dependent upon your continued usage of those things, okay? You need to begin with the end in mind. You need to make sure that you can see yourself living this way for years. And obviously, if you're putting yourself through this realm of restriction and boxed in with rules and stuff like that, well then obviously it's going to make it very hard for you to continue that into the future. So there we have it, the solution to dropping weight without getting skinny fat. So as you can see, getting skinny fat doesn't just happen magically. quickly, like Chris Angel just going, whoop, you know, like it happens by choice. Your choices and actions and lifestyle design in terms of what you've been doing will get you towards either looking skinny fat or get you towards looking tight and toned. So with these knowledge bombs that I've dropped, hopefully it hasn't just, you know, blown your mind too much. Hopefully it's given you some clarity as to how it actually happens, because understand that at the end of the day, it all boils down to, are you doing the stuff that's relevant? If you're not, well then you'll wind yourself up in the skinny fat sort of body. If you find that you're already right here at a skinny fat sort of physique, or you're aware that you're kind of going down that track and you'd like some help to be able to reverse all of this and make sure that you can actually start gaining muscle and get lean with ease without dieting or putting yourself through restriction, well, what I'd encourage you to do is click any of the links below you'll see in the description. This will allow you to get amongst a call with me and to connect so that I can actually, you know, share within your story and what's been happening, and hopefully be able to provide for you and pave the way as to what's going to be the best way to move you from point A to point B, so that you have that clarity and you know, we can change your life and get you absolutely hustling, okay? Because understand that, as you'll see with this photo here, I was someone that actually used to be you know, fat and overweight myself, but thankfully through being coached in the right stuff, I was actually able to lose all this weight in a way where I didn't get skinny fat whatsoever. I actually you know, looked pretty good and then maintained that for a while, and then it's been a means of just adding muscle and staying lean ever since. So you know, if you too want to experience that same sort of flexible and enjoyable journey, you know, take action, reach out and let's chat, okay? Otherwise, if you watch this video and you found something valuable or you have a question, please keep the conversation going below. Drop a comment and I'll be in touch. But either way, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for putting some time into checking this out. I really appreciate it. Big love, and see you next time in the Boss Fitness world. Angus signing out.